there are many young people that are actually making their own music and publishing it online. And let's face it, there is one place that they're doing this more than any other, and yes, that is YouTube. Now again, I'm going to come on to perhaps some of the downsides of that later on, but YouTube is so widely available, so widely used, and of course so easily navigable that I think it's a very obvious place for young people to post the music that they're creating, not least because they'll have grown up almost certainly using it as a tool of discovery themselves, as we discussed earlier. I think it's important to consider a couple of other increasingly popular platforms that are being used. SoundCloud, I think, is, as I said earlier, now one of, if not the dominant pure audio hosting services in the world. Interestingly, it's being used by very mainstream corporations for a lot of their audio work, broadcasters and so on, and increasingly used by record labels for special offers. But it is, I think, principally, if you like, a pro-amateur or user-generated content offering where people are hosting their own music. Hugely popular, a worldwide phenomenon, and at this point it seems just growing and growing. And for reasons that I'll talk about a little later, it's possibly as well a slightly safer environment for children to publish their music in. And then lastly, a couple of slightly less well-known offerings, but ones which I think are very powerful. Bandcamp is a platform which is being used increasingly by young musicians and bands to not only publish their music, but to try and build a career through it financially. It uses a PayPal-driven back-end to pretty seamlessly build in e-commerce functionality for young musicians who are as yet unsigned by a label. And finally, I wanted to put in a mention for Mixcloud, which I think Mixcloud's very interesting because in many ways it sits halfway between the kind of social curation we talked about a little earlier and self-publishing, because it essentially allows people to publish mixes of other people's music. And, obviously mixed culture in many ways is associated with dance music, and there is an awful lot of dance music that's represented on Mixcloud, but really there are very few genres of music that I'm aware of that haven't actually been put into mixes and uploaded to Mixcloud. It's a wonderfully open environment. As I say, because mixes are inherently a form of social curation, so it's interesting for me to see how young people are using it once again to build their own identity through gathering together music they love, but publishing it in this rather seamless mix environment.